Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnapod. I'm your host, Rob Holbert. Everybody else here, sound off.
Ashley Trice.
Grant McLaughlin.
Scott Johnson.
Kyle Hamrick.
Tommy Hicks.
We got a full house today at the Rectangular Round Table. Scott, you got this week's cover story, another very interesting one, something that has been a big topic of conversation around the state, the residency of Tommy Tuberville, who is running for governor. Does he really live in Florida? Does he really live in Auburn? I don't think we've solved that, but you've provided a lot of information here that people can look at and make a decision, right?
Yeah, no, I think what this does is that it paints a broader picture that this is actually a legitimate question to ask.
Yeah.
Tuberville and his campaign want to brush it off as a liberal hoax. I just went back and read his press release when the GOP decided they weren't going to review his residency. He said this was liberal media who was pushing this, and
now one of the biggest people pushing it is a Republican opponent of his.
Yeah, Ken McPheeters.
Not a part of the liberal media, but a conservative Republican running.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so he's challenging him. He tried to challenge him with the state GOP.
Yes.
And he's currently in a week interim in threatening litigation. He claims he's going to file a lawsuit to force them to look into this. But
so let's do this in a timeline to try to help people understand what knowledge do we have of where Tuberville has lived as an elected official? Yeah. So when he came into office, where did he live?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the governor's position, which he's running for, is a 7-year consecutive residency requirement. So you have a timeline. You have to have established residency within that timeline. We know that it's from the date of the election, so November 2026, which goes back to November 2019. He has to have established residency.
And so there are different residency requirements for different offices.
Yeah.
So people, just because he is a U.S. senator does not mean he qualifies to be governor from a residency standpoint.
Right.
Okay.
So in
got that out of
December 2016, Coach Tommy Tuberville resigns his position with the Cincinnati Bearcats in Ohio.
Yes.
He then moves, and from all appearances, looks like he moves to the beach. He says it in several interviews. I found at least 3 interviews where he says, I've moved to the beach.
This is in Santa Rosa, Florida.
Yeah, near Destin.
Bought a house
30A.
Right.
Yeah. He's owned the house since 2004. It's a $4.5 million valued house.
Yes.
It's large, right on the beach.
Yeah.
It is the largest home that he has owned, longest owned home that he has.
Yes.
So he moves to there, but he claims, I'm screwing this up. He claims a residency because he has this brief entry into the governor's race.
In what year?
2017. So early
2017, he's thinking about running for governor in Alabama.
So he does several things. He claims that he's living in Auburn. He purchases a home in Auburn. Actually, his son and his wife purchase a home in Auburn.
I thought he had the Dadeville home at that point.
Yes, he had Lake Martin home as well.
Okay.
So what he did was he filed his governor's campaign in 2017. He filed it under his Auburn home.
Okay.
Then he makes a political contribution. He loans himself $100,000.
Gotcha.
Using his Lake Martin address.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that was kind of a question there, like which one are you claiming?
Right.
Because he's using 2 then. And
he's still dealing with the 7-year requirement at this point.
Yes. And this predates the 7. Several months later in June, he drops out of that race. I don't know if that's because he realizes there's no way I'm going to achieve this 7-year requirement, or in one interview he just said, me and my wife agreed we want to go live at the beach.
Yeah.
So from there, he takes out his homestead exemption in Santa Rosa Beach,
right,
Florida.
Makes that his primary residence. Legally primary residence,
which is applied to the 2018 full year, where he not only registers to vote, but he also votes in the general election that year.
Yes.
So 2018, there's no dispute. He was a Florida resident in 2018. So 2019, the year of importance. Early in March 2019, he registers his campaign. He claims that he lives
to run for U.S. Senate.
To run for U.S. Senate. Thank you.
Right.
He claims on his FEC forms, claims the Auburn address, where his son and his wife own a 3-bedroom, 1
Totally different residency
house.
requirements, though, for U.S. Senate.
To be a quote-unquote inhabitant, which apparently means one day.
Yes.
I think there's been some other famous senators who've done that same thing.
Plenty of them.
Hillary
Yes.
Clinton, some others. But,
There have been several,
Yeah.
yes.
Very minimal. And then...
So there's not a lot of scrutiny, in other words, of his residency, of being a senator. Even though people are saying, oh, yeah, he lives in Florida. But he kind of parachutes in. He's going to run for Senate.
Yeah. And so from there, he obviously campaigns and is elected in 2020, November 2020, and then he enters office 2021.
Yeah.
So the question is was he a bona fide resident at that time? Has he consistently been a resident since that time? And or has there been breaks?
And you've uncovered some new information, but you've gone through this. You went through the whole litany of things here, where he's been and what he's done. That house in Auburn, he just in 2024 put his name on that house.
Yes, he was not on the deed, and then in 2024 he was put on the deed.
Yes.
Replacing Tucker, who was also called Thomas
Right.
Tuberville.
Which a lot of people, I think, maybe mistook
Yeah.
the fact that his name was on it, but it's actually his son's name.
Actually,
on it.
multiple news reports have
Right.
reported that was his H1. Actually, the Alabama GOP said, look, there's a homestead exemption on this house that doesn't have your name on it, but we're going to claim that's evidence that you live, that's your residence.
Right.
So in 2024, his name's put on the address, and then he applies for an H4 exemption. It's all technical, sorry about that, but this is a 65-year or older exemption.
It's an age-related exemption.
Which is, his wife is not 65 yet, so this is very clearly applies to him and him only.
Right.
And this is that's the strongest amount of evidence that we have to this point that, that's
But he could have applied for that years ago if he were actually living there.
He could have applied for it in 2019, the year that is so critical.
He's old enough to have applied for it several years ago, but has not done so until within the last 2 years.
Yeah. So, so a whole bunch of, a lot of technicalities there. What I look into in this article is the Secretary of the Senate report. They file all their expense account filings.
Right.
And it's much more detailed than FEC filings. They actually tell you where they're going and where they're coming from. I'm actually surprised no one's actually looked at these yet because they're just floating out there.
Well, that's because you're a better reporter than most of the rest of them.
I'll take that any day. So, but my eyes are burning from looking through all this stuff. It's terrible to go through. You can't, half these PDFs you can't actually search through.
You're right.
You just got to dig through them, and it's terrible. Yeah. And then nothing's congruent. It's awful. So, yes, burning eyes. Anyway, I pull out roughly 140 trips I can identify, more or less. And from there, kind of just...
And that's over what span of time?
2021 through October 1, 2025.
So since he's been in the Senate.
Yes. And, I encourage everyone to go and read the online article. I include lots of graphs and charts that I added
and a heat map.
A heat map, which is really fun to make.
To track the tubster.
Yeah, and you can see that I do it by mentions, where, what city is he mentioning, what area is he mentioning, and you can very clearly see that so part of the most darkest part of the map is the Florida Panhandle.
He flies to the Florida Panhandle more than anywhere else.
Yeah, especially in the first 3 years. So, and you actually kind of see a shift happen. So, the first 3 years, he is clearly traveling to 30A, Destin area, more than he's traveling to Alabama.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on to 2024 and 2025, when his governor aspirations are picking up, it just inverses. Actually, his trips to Montgomery shoot through the roof. It's very clearly that he's putting his attention over here.
Yeah, but the point, and I know a lot of people that get upset about looking at these things, and I've said this 100 times, is these stories drive me crazy. I hate that we as the media are left to be the ones to have to try to verify where people live because the government doesn't do it. And, and the political parties won't do it.
Yeah.
And so, they've got somebody they think can win. They don't care where they live, but so it gets left to us. And, it's not easy to do unless you put a deer camera outside somebody's house to see where they are. But what you've got with this story, which you did an awesome job of compiling a lot of this information, is that you see that he is traveling there a lot, and on times when they have breaks and times when they're supposed to be back working in the state as well. That it is just he's traveling to Florida quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I thought we had a mouse in here. It's just Tommy's chair squeaking back and forth. Okay. Anyway, so I mean, folks can look at it. I think it's really instructive. I think it will probably, as you said, at least, I think there's a big question here that needs to be answered, and I think he should answer it. I mean, I think that's Ash. You wrote that in your column this week about what needs to be done in this situation.
I mean, I think the only remedy is if McFeeters or someone falls and puts it to the courts, because the GOP is clearly not going to do it.
Right.
It's not very clearly spelled out in the law either. It's like, what constitutes 7 years of residency? Your homestead exemption, where you voted, taxes. It's not stated, so they often lead on the courts when they decide on these things. They lean on the definition of domicile, which is that place that you go home to,
where you keep your underwear.
Yes,
that's what I would always say. Where's your underwear?
I think if he goes through that process, it will be. I mean, obviously, we're a red state. We'll have a Republican jurist, I'm sure, but I think it would be hard for him to prove that he's been living here for 7 years.
Well, and then the other part of it that you get to is that you have his house on Lake Martin, an expensive home, nice, expensive, more than $1 million home,
which he sold.
Yes, but I'm just saying that's where he lived there. He has this $5 million house.
Some say even $6 million, up to $6
million home on the beach in Florida. Nice house.
Yeah.
The house he claims to live in Auburn is apparently in an area that is mostly student housing. It has one bedroom.
No, one bathroom.
One bathroom. I'm sorry, one bathroom.
Yeah.
One bathroom, not one bedroom, but one bathroom.
Do you think Mrs. Tuberville is going to share a bathroom with her husband?
Yeah, I can tell you that, the Holbert household, and we're not high-flying senators. We got no walk-off money from coaching football teams. A one bathroom house ain't gonna fly.
Yeah.
But so I mean,
we all know. It's just, does anyone care?
Yeah, it pushes really just pushes the boundaries of like what is credible, and that part is the part that just sort of like it's hard to deal with, because it's like, I mean, come on. You're worth millions of dollars.
You live in a 3-1 in Auburn student housing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah. That's hard to believe, and it just makes it difficult for anybody to look at it and take it seriously.
Right.
But it's one of these things. It's like it's just a game. It becomes a political game, but it is something that is the law, and most of us have to follow the law in that regard.
I think you've brought this up several times. Ask any of us to prove that we've lived here and had our domicile is here. It'd be very easy to do.
Yeah.
Be very easy
I could do it in any number of
ways.
Yeah.
I definitely, this doesn't make a conclusion, and I think that, it's, you got to have harder, expansive evidence that we don't have, that only he has, that he can easily provide, and just get this out of his way. Because if it's annoying him, settle it.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, his problem is, and I had a political person, tell me, hey, there's no there. Like, that's not. I disagree with that. I mean, it's like, again, we can easily put this thing to rest. Just show us 7 years of
Alabama tax
returns. You don't even have to show us the whole thing. Just show us they were filed in Alabama. We won't go through your taxes. Just show us that they're there.
When you got your first Alabama driver's license, he went
on ESPN. He did a commercial on ESPN that said he had moved to Florida. Yeah. Remember when he was doing that? Yep. You write about that in there. And so, it's clear he lived in Florida. He clearly lived in Florida at one point.
Yeah. Up until he registered to run for senator.
Right. Yeah. And again, the Senate rules, easy, and people are not really looking to those very hard because they are not very stringent. I mean, it's like, you just got to have a place to live. You basically can rent an apartment and run for U.S. Senator. Not so much for governor. So anyway, it's a great story, and I think you did a hell of a job with it and putting all that stuff together. And the heat map's fantastic. Yes. So people should check it out online. Heat map.
Wish you could hit like on the heat map, but maybe just click on it.
Or something. Just once again, if you're not a Lagniappe subscriber, you're missing out on great things.
And heat maps.
The heat map is right there.
More heat maps.
Well, speaking of heat, we're going to come back with Tommy Hicks in just a minute and talk a little bit about basketball heat. And we're going to take a break. Be right back. We're back, and it's March, and it's madness. And there's a lot of madness with the basketball.
We don't really care what month. There's going to be madness.
There's some particular madness with the Sun Belt and
yes, with football schedules.
Oh, football. This
football
is football
madness. This
football
is football madness.
Sorry.
So
we'll go to the football madness first, then.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the Sun Belt released their football schedules, which are mainly the schools have their non-conference that they had already scheduled, but then the league brings out their league schedule. And Louisiana Tech, which has voted to leave the Conference USA to join the Sun Belt, at least by 2027, but they want to leave this year. CUSA is not so happy about them leaving this year and wants them to stay another year. Conference USA on the same day released their football schedules and also had La Tech on it. So La Tech has conference schedules in CUSA and in the Sun Belt at the same time. They will have a hearing. We're taping this on Wednesday. They will have a hearing on Thursday involving their suit to try to go ahead and break loose from CUSA a year early and join Sun Belt.
They must feel loved. I mean, they
feel a lot of love right now. So, what happens if CUSA wins the argument and there's no schedule that they haven't said? My guess would be that you would just pick another conference team that you're not currently on your schedule. They'll figure out a way to fill
plug the holes
one game that way. But it's going to be interesting to see how that rolls out.
So let's talk about basketball madness now. Where are we?
Hoopville. We had the first 4 games last night to get those teams involved. And then
that's NIT, right?
That's in the NCAA.
NCAA.
But the NIT also started last night. South Alabama was at Auburn.
Okay.
Jags had a 6-point halftime lead and could not hold on to it. All of a sudden, Auburn found their range on the 3-point shooting, made 11 3-pointers just in the second half, and ended up winning 78-67. So South's season ends at 21-11.
Okay.
Auburn only 18-16. They moved on. They play Seattle. They haven't decided yet either Saturday or Sunday in the NIT. What was interesting is that they played at Auburn in Neville Arena, which is almost always packed. And last night, watching the game, you could see a lot of empty seats. So, they were a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament last year, made it to the Final Four.
Right. Kind of a fall off. Maybe there's a lot of expectations.
A little fall off this year, so maybe the fans were just not that pleased with what was going on.
Yeah, I guess not.
South Women actually got into the women's NIT, and they will play Saturday at Alcorn State. And so that'll about do it hoop-wise.
Okay.
For us for now. I mean, March Madness is beginning.
Yes.
I'm picking all number 1 seeds to advance to the Final Four.
There you go. All right.
I've got Duke winning the whole thing.
I've got Arizona winning the whole thing.
I can't remember who I have. But it's definitely...
It means a lot to you.
Definitely one of the number 1 teams, yes. All right. And then we've got a couple of people who've done some pretty good things in the track and field arena.
Yes,
lately.
Mobile being well represented at the NCAA Indoor Nationals last week. Janie Ford, the former St. Paul's phenom, is at Vanderbilt. She finished 4th in the pentathlon. She earned first-team All-America honors. It's amazing. She has already set 5 school records at Vanderbilt and is top 10 in 4 others already. And it's just the indoor season. Outdoor hadn't even, it's just getting started. So, and Morgan Davis, who was a standout at Saraland, she spent her first 2 years at Kentucky, recently transferred to Texas A&M. She qualified for the indoor nationals in the long jump and finished 10th. She is a second-team All-America winner.
Well,
so not bad.
Very impressive.
There.
And then and we got Orange Beach softball going.
Orange Beach is going for their 6th straight state championship this year. There's a couple of girls that have been involved all the way through. They were like Ava Hudo, Hodo.
Okay.
Hodo, as a 7th grader, hit a home run in the bottom of the 6th inning to give them the state championship.
Wow.
As a 7th grader.
Wow.
Now she's a senior, already signed with Arkansas. She's one of the top 3 catchers in the country.
Okay.
Really,
ranked
as one of the top 3 catchers in the country. Tegan Rivette was also on that team from 7th grade on. She's already signed with Mississippi State. So, I mean, they have Dago Wilson playing for Auburn. Auburn was in town last night, beat South Alabama 11-2 in softball. She was here for that game and had a hit. She's doing really well. She's batting like 400 for Auburn as a freshman. So, a lot of softball talent.
Something in the water down there.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Must be that badass coffee.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
it's
Orange Beach, they've
sure.
just been stellar the whole time. Just think about it. Ever since they played, all they've done is win state championship.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
They don't know anything other than
they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So that's the way they're going to be going.
All right, Tommy. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll come back and talk a little bit about some constables. And we're back. We, Kyle, you have a story on the sheer massive number of constables that may in our county that may be soon whittled down some.
That's right. We currently have 80 constables in Mobile County, which is 1 for each of the voting precincts. And there is a plan by Napoleon Bracey in the House of Representatives, the State House, to cull that number down to 27.
Right.
Which means there would be 3 constables voted in from each of the House districts in the county. This would save a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money, like tens of thousands of dollars, I've been told. Because it costs a lot of money to vote these guys into office, like between $50,000 and $60,000 every 4 years
to run the election.
To run the election.
This is not campaign money. This is not. These guys don't have campaigns for a lot of. And the issue that a lot of this has been brought up by the fact that people are winning these seats with 2 votes or 3 votes or one vote. They've had these situations where we've got to have draw straws to see who the constable is, and I mean, so it's a bizarre kind of thing. As we were talking about it yesterday. With 80 constables, they're the second largest law enforcement group in the county, or the third. We got the sheriff's department, and the MPD, and then the constables.
These random guys who don't necessarily have law enforcement.
Some don't. I mean, some of them are
because they don't have to go through the A post. They can make an arrest. They can serve you papers, but they can't get paid like a salary for what they do. They make money off of fees. It's a strange kind of job. It started in the Roman Empire. I found that route there, but we've still kept it going through the
Did
the
they have a
centuries.
police force in the Roman Empire, and then
They had
the constables were kind of like a crossing guards or what?
Well, they were the masters of the stables.
Yeah,
because it's constabuli is what it is in Latin. Yeah. So there's a plan to cull these guys down because when you have the 80 voting precincts and you have that's 80 ballots there just for the constables.
Right.
And then when you have like the school board and the various other seats there, probate judge Mark Irwin said that they had like 143 different kinds of ballots in the last time we voted for constables. It's a great expense.
It creates an expense on just getting all the ballots done. Yeah. So, well, that's a fascinating one. We'll have to see. And apparently, from what you read, the constables are down with this. The head constables are okay with this.
Yeah, he Leo Bullock, who I believe is one of the longest serving constables in the county. I
believe he is the gentleman who's out on Old Shell Road every day directing traffic at St. Paul's.
He might be, but he put out a statement on Facebook saying, he thinks this is a great move, and he thinks all the other constables should get on board with it.
Yeah, well,
we'll see. It has not gone to a floor vote in the House yet. We're running out of time, but I don't know. PSC bills have gotten.
I was going to say, where are we on that now?
Faster.
The hottest race in the state.
Yeah, your weekly PSC updates. Whoever thought we'd talk about the Public Service Commission this month?
That's right. That's right. So last week, the Senate version of the bill to put the appointments on, and the Secretary of Energy got through the Senate, and yesterday, Tuesday, the House of Representatives voted to advance this bill by Mac Butler to require the PSC to do a rate case hearing for the power company and other companies every 3 years. That one made it through the State House, and it is on its way to the Senate.
To me, that's the one that is really the most likely to actually create some change for the consumers, is to make them open it up and under oath have to go through to justify what they're spending money on.
Absolutely.
But we still have the Power to the People bill.
Yeah, which has sailed through the Senate after 2 or 3 days. It's got support from every member of the Senate. And now we're at the question here of which one will go through. The Power to the People Act.
Which the senators and our soon-to-be Florida man, Governor Tommy Tuberville
are in favor.
Or the rate case one,
which is
what the citizens of Alabama would
like. That's exactly right.
So you got the Power to the People would increase the number of public service commissioners from 3 to 7.
Right.
It would stagger some of those, but the 4 new ones would all be appointed by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
And there would also be the creation of an energy secretary for the state who would more or less oversee this. And from what I also understand, I guess it would do away with the president of the PSC.
That's right.
And so you would do away with that position, and this energy secretary would more or less operate. And that's an appointed position, a cabinet level position by the governor. So, again, you get back into this direct line of politics from the governor, someone that Alabama Power can give money directly to.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think that's one of they're not allowed to do that to the Public Service Commission, but that's one of the big things. It feels to me like the groundswell is starting to come up against Power to the People.
Yes.
Much like it did the earlier version of the bill to try to take away the vote for the PSC, that it feels like there's starting to be some movement. People are starting to activate and say, we don't want this. I'm wondering if they're going to get this thing through before
I think that there will be political consequences for anyone who votes for
And that's what Mac Butler said at a press conference, was he's heard from a very large number of people who are for his bill and against the Power to the People Act. What he wants to do, he of course hopes that his bill will get through. He said he's not opposed to the energy secretary role, but he is not in favor of the Power to the People plan as a whole. There's parts that he likes, but he says if you really want change, you've got to get through the rate case one.
Yeah. Well, that's it's
so we'll see.
it is. I mean, Public Service Commission has been just absolute hotbed these days. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. I think this power to the people is going to have some serious backlash here pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
So, Grant, you've had a lot of hemp juice over there on the Eastern Shore. People are trying to get.
Well, I haven't had any.
The people
of
are
it.
trying to get their hemp juice back. What's going on with that? What's the latest on the efforts to get THC infused drinks back in stores?
Well, I'm cooking up my own longer piece on this.
I thought you were saying you're making some at home. I was like, we don't have time for a commercial here.
Grant's hemp juice, everybody. Yeah. No, but basically the Daphne has now become the hot spot of hemp products in all of coastal Alabama. Yeah. But that's really only because nobody really knows what's going on. All of the cities are really kind of hodgepodging how they're going to let businesses that were previously selling hemp products sell them again. And a lot of these businesses have remained closed, and other ones have had to take some of their products off the shelves. It is kind of a mess, honestly. But it looks, hopefully with time and enough pressure from these businesses, city councils will start processing these applications. At least that's what one of the business owners told me about it. That was his take.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, so, I mean, for folks who aren't aware, these products were being sold, and then the state changed the law last year.
That's right.
And so, to make it so they came out of all the stores locally, and now some places are starting to put them back in, obviously, mostly on the Eastern Shore. I don't think Mobile has really gone back over that yet.
Mobile, there's only one in Mobile County, and that's in Semmes. The Semmes City Council approved a vape store to sell those products. I can't remember the name.
Right.
The city of Mobile tried to basically put in something that was like a 90-day, you guys can operate while we figure out how we're going to do this locally. But the ABC has since said that is not sufficient. So those businesses have remained closed.
Well, it's people need their hemp. We need it. We need it back. I'm fascinated to see some of the people on like the city councils who, over the years I would have thought it's kind of, this doesn't seem like somebody that's going to be like behind in favor of hemp drinks, and they're like,
well,
bring it back. That's fine.
One such case is our Jack Burrell in Fairhope.
I wasn't naming names, but I was surprised that Jack Burrell's kind of pro THC drinks, but it's good. That's cool. It's kind of surprising. We had St. Patrick's Day yesterday, as we record. Once again, the Crichton Leprechaun story it's made national news. Is this thing ever going to go away?
I hope not.
Hope not.
No, I love it. It makes, I watched it last night. I had not watched it this year.
Yeah.
It just made me happy. I did learn, it was in the New York Times was the article, and I finally accessed it. The only thing I really knew was that the Irish flute guy died in 2019.
When you say you accessed it, you mean you paid the paywall price and read it?
No, correct? Someone had a gift subscription.
Ashley, what do you mean?
Yes, I happily paid the paywall price.
All right.
I have another national newspaper that I pay for the paywall on. Can't have them all.
You're setting quite an example. Anyway, so what did you learn besides that you have no scruples?
The 2019. I have plenty of subscriptions, by the way, too many, in fact. The Irish flute guy,
yes,
he died in 2019.
So the guy that we saw yesterday playing the flute, that looked a lot like our mayor, Spirit Charagatis. That was not the original flute guy.
And you'll be surprised to hear that the original Irish flute guy was not actually Irish. His relatives confirmed that.
Okay.
So, well, but I loved what the mayor did. I thought that was fun. I really think I've written a column about this before, but I really think we need to do something bigger with the Crichton Leprechaun on St. Patrick's Day. A festival, something. Add some floats to the Friendly Sons parade. We really need to lean into that. We'll be the next
maybe
Chicago.
A museum.
Yeah. We can paint the Mobile River green. It's already kind of brown looking anyway.
Another fact about the leprechaun, the Crichton Leprechaun, is that I was at a meeting the other night with Pete Albrecht from Channel 5, and he told us that drawing, that original drawing of the Crichton Leprechaun was on like a little mini pad. You see the lines, right? They just had somebody in there draw it, and then that's what they use up on the screen. But then they took it and put it up for auction for like a charity, and somebody paid like $600 or $800 for it and has it now.
It needs to be in the Smithsonian.
It's like somewhere in New York, he said he thinks.
It needs to be in the Leprechaun
I can
Museum.
only imagine the amount of money if you'd had that copyrighted that you could possibly make from all this.
We tried to quantify that in a story one time.
Yeah.
But
it is under a copyright, but they don't want to talk about it.
And so, I mean, just to show you how far it's gone, one of the local dermatologists had an ad running yesterday that had like the lines on the paper. It was like before Botox and then moved it after. I was like, that's good.
That is good stuff.
That is good.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. The and for folks who didn't see, Mayor Chirigatis got out and did his own little, I guess a skit, maybe a skit. Where he chased the leprechaun around a tree and played a flute, and it was interesting.
Yeah, it was some.
Our Greek mayor exploring
fired
his
up
Irish.
with some shenanigans.
I thought it might be a tacit endorsement of THC products as well, but I don't know.
It looked like a really professional flute.
Yeah, it was good.
I wanted to see Dale Leach make an appearance as the Crichton.
I believe he was. I feel certain that was Dale behind the tree.
Behind the mask.
I think it was.
For people who are not
large leprechaun,
freshened up on their Crichton Leprechaun lore, you can see in that video that there is now a fence around.
Yes.
Because there's a house that's been built on that property.
Yeah.
We wrote about it like a year and a half ago.
Right.
Anyway, but that's just an interesting fact is that there's now a house, and they particularly did not cut down the tree. They built their fence around the Crichton Leprechaun
tree. It needs a
to
historic
let
marker.
the public have access to the tree.
I think the Crichton Leprechaun the amateur sketch needs its own bronze statue, like down by Heroes
I think
Park
it'd be great. Yeah, right next to Hank Aaron.
Yes.
It's on Google Maps. You can actually zoom in, and it will say Crichton Leprechaun Tree. And I've interviewed the people on that street before. They say that it's almost it's weekly. They'll see people just like slowly driving down the street.
I just wish I had been to go back in time. I would love to just have been there when that happened.
I remember people calling us about that. In fact, the little music store that's right there called us and said, y'all need to go. And we were like, what? There's no leprechaun. That was a big miss.
We missed it. Yeah. We missed it big time.
One of my first dates with Madeline in Mobile, she drove me to the Crichton Leprechaun house, and then I just looked at her in the car and I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is this? And she just like she's a tour guide, just pointed and said, here's the site of one of the internet's first viral videos.
Yeah, it is.
The Crichton Leprechaun.
We really, they need to have a plaque out there at the very minimum. A plaque with the drawing on it and the explanation of what in the world it's all about.
The Leprechaun Museum people I interviewed said they would rather no plaque because it's the folklore. It's the folklore. The word of mouth legend.
I don't care what those people over in Ireland want.
It's going to die with our generation if we don't immortalize it.
That stands as one of my favorite interviews of all time.
They're hysterical. There's a video with Marshawn Lynch too.
Yes,
where he was over there and he was like, they have a leprechaun in Alabama, and they were like, we know it well.
It's like I asked him, I was like, so at the end of my interview with him, I was like, so are leprechauns real? And he's like, of course they're real.
They're magically delicious. All right, that's all we got this week, folks. We'll be back next Thursday with the next episode of Lagnapod. Thanks for listening this week.
The Lagnapod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Sompole Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lanyapmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.